Boy, do I have a treat for you guys today. This is a Panasonic cf-28 Toughbook. Pretty old laptop. I think they're from around 2001. It's running a 1 gigahertz Pentium 3 mobile, and it has 512 megabytes of RAM. These are a fully rugged military-grade laptop. This thing is built like a tank and weighs almost as much as a tank. Has this lovely handle in the front that collapses into the front of the laptop nicely. I really like that about these. The more modern one that everybody seems to be after is the cf-30, because you can acquire them at a pretty reasonable price, yet they're still useful, where this one, about the newest operating system you're going to be able to effectively run on it is Windows XP. And unfortunately, Windows XP is no longer supported, and this really doesn't have the oomph to do anything past some basic word processing and, well, basically nothing online. But we go ahead and take a look around the laptop. You'll notice, for one, it's got these covers over basically everything. And these are both kind of, they're interesting, but they're problematic too. Pardon the squeaking from the rubber feet on it. They often get broken or lost, and it's really hard to find one of these that has all of these covers. You'll notice there's a problem with one of the hinges on the other side that I've kind of done some makeshift repairs on, which works but doesn't look the best. But overall, this one is in extremely good shape, because these laptops were really used and abused, usually by police forces in their cruisers and things. You'll see these are the laptops you always see in cop cars. So go ahead and take a look in there. We've got our multi-bay, which currently has a floppy drive in it. There is a CD-ROM, possibly a CD burner option that can go in there as well. They are not super cheap, so I don't think I'll be getting one of those. I've just used an external drive with it whenever I need one. On the front, we have some sort of blanking slot here. I'm not sure what that's for. I don't believe there's any LEDs there. Handle, as I mentioned before. Latch for the top, and under here is the really crap sounding speaker. And this is our power button. Really strange design. Rotates down to activate. I don't quite get that. I believe this is the last one that they, possibly the only one they ever used that on. But yeah, it's kind of nice feeling. I actually like it. On the side, we have Ethernet, modem, which I believe one of my pins might be bent in the Ethernet port. Not sure about that. This is the door that's kind of screwed up. I open that up and it doesn't quite latch in perfectly, but it's a little tighter than it should be. You'll see this hinge down here. It's kind of makeshift little bent piece of metal with a little wire going through. It works, but it's not great. And then we got the normal hinge. This is our PCMCIA, or I don't think it's card bus capable. It might be. I really don't know. Never really used those slots for anything other than a couple of wireless adapters in my time, so I don't really know too much about them. Have an infrared port here, and power, 16 volt in. It's kind of a weird voltage. All these Toughbooks seem to run on 16 volt adapters, which since I own a lot of them, I now own, I think, 4 Toughbooks. Yeah, I've been getting quite a few of those power adapters, and thankfully I have, like, I've got a couple that I only have like one adapter. I have to share it between several of them. So thankfully, when I bought the Panasonic CFC1, the medical one, it had the power adapter I needed for one of my small Toughbooks, but unfortunately I haven't been able to get that one to work properly. I can't get it to post if it has hard drive in it. I think the hard drive controller is bad, unfortunately. But anyway, back to this. Have a little rubber cover there that exposes a USB port, but unfortunately, unless you have the thinnest cable in the world, unless it's basically just the width of the USB port, it won't fit in there. We have a sliding cover that exposes the docking connector, and a little flip down cover that exposes our serial port. And then slide this over, and the entire panel flips down, which exposes a PS2 mouse keyboard combo port, headphone, microphone, USB port, dock connector, VGA out, parallel out, and serial port, which is a pretty good selection of ports, really. Has some of these little rubber bumpers around the outside. I believe you can attach straps to these. Not real sure on that. Not going to try. But yeah, overall, really neat looking laptop. Super rugged. I mean, I've seen videos of people literally running over these things with cars, and well, they don't like it, but they usually survive. Something else that's pretty cool is how the bottom panel opens up on this for accessing the battery. Unfortunately, I do not have a good battery for this. I have one. I need to rebuild it. Still, it's not currently in the machine. But you slide these two little latches over, whole panel lifts off. Very nice design. Super easy to work on. It only has one RAM expansion slot in there, which is populated by a 256 megabyte module, which means the machine has 256 megabytes internal soldered to the motherboard. We have our hard drive caddy here, which is also pretty interesting. You flip up this little rubber tab, which unlocks these two little sliders. They fit into the notches there, which keeps them from moving. Slide them out, pull up on this, and then lift up on the handle, and the entire thing comes away. Very nice design. A little bit of a pain to get the hard drive in and out of here because it's got all these like rubber shock ring kind of things around it, which are weird. And it's also got a heating element in it, so when this is in cold weather, it can heat the drive up before it spins it up, which, well, I mean, it's good for if it's left in vehicles, I guess, which is what these were generally used for. Reinsert the drive, press down on the little tab here, which here it kind of pop in place. Then I put pressure on here and then slide these over, and that locks down in nicely. You'll notice a wireless antenna just kind of sitting down there because I installed a wireless card in this and did not feel like trying to run the antenna up through the display hinge somewhere, so I just kind of stuffed it down there. It's not great. If you put your hand over it in the wrong spot, it loses in the entire signal, but also not too much of a problem because I don't really use wireless on this. I just had the card and the antenna laying around, so I stuffed it in there, and well, it's good enough. Also on the bottom is our release for the multi-bay. It's kind of weird, you have to pull this little thing over and then rotate it around, which I'm not going to do that because it will try to eject it when the door's closed. But yeah, that's the outside of the laptop. Now we'll power it on and see what it's like when it's running. Also should mention, it has one of the worst trackpads in the world because this is a resistive pad, meaning it can be used with gloves, so it's pressure sensitive. But well, as a result of that, it's really shit. Basically, it's totally just it feels awful to use. It's really unresponsive. Kind of, you have to like really press hard on it a lot of times to get it to really do much of anything. It's crap. I really wish they would have gone the route of putting a track point or a track ball on this. That would have been a lot nicer to use than this piece of crap. Although I understand why they did it. So I wish they would have at least made it a little bigger because it's also one of the smallest trackpads I've ever seen in my life. And because you have to do so much movement on it, it's really tedious. It works much better in Windows than they do in Linux. I actually own two of these Panasonic cf-28s. This is the much nicer of the two. The other one I've actually custom painted a texturized black on the back display. And that looks good. However, the rubber, like little rubber bumpers and stuff, are all messed up on that one. It's in a lot worse shape overall. This one still even has the Pentium 3 stickers on it and just in the texturized coating on here, which wears off extremely quickly. I've noticed in the short amount that I've actually used this that I've worn through it over here, and it's kind of shiny. So that'll all wear off within a matter of probably a few hours of using it. I can't imagine that it would have been like that when it was new. I'm going to guess that this coating has kind of deteriorated over time. It's kind of like this weird rubberized, feels almost sticky now, the coating. Has a pretty decent keyboard. Not one of the best that I've ever used. Has an alright feel to it. It's white, which I absolutely hate on keyboards, because if you have anything on your hands and you go to use it, it will stain it and look terrible. But feels alright to type on. Arrow keys are tiny and shite. Enter key's kind of small. It does have a Windows key, which is good. But overall, not terrible. Not as bad as a lot of other Toughbook keyboards. A lot of them are pretty crap. It's not backlit or anything. It's just standard old kind of chiclet. I don't know what these are called. But feels alright to type on. It's not bad. But yeah, pretty good example of one of these. I'll go get the power adapter and plug it in. Here's the machine booting Windows XP. There's really not too much to show here inside the operating system, but give you a little look at what the screen's like and things. See, the screen is extremely clear and bright on this model, or at least on this particular example. My other one, its screen is it's got some noticeable kind of backlight bleed and slight yellowing to the display. This machine has extremely low hours on it, and which is really surprising for a Toughbook. Usually these things have 10,000 hours plus on them because they're used constantly. This install of Windows is pretty messed up. I actually it was installed on a different machine and I moved it over to here. It was actually on the other Toughbook, which is a cf-28 but is an older model, so it has a different processor and different video configuration, which it did work swapping them. Mainly I just did that because I was too lazy to go get all the drivers and things for it, but I'm going to be reinstalling this sometime soon. I tried putting Warcraft 3 on here, but it did not like that one little bit. Considering this machine is entirely passively cooled, I also wouldn't recommend running anything too intensive on it for too long. Although I haven't had any heat problems with it. It really only gets slightly warm on the outside. But if I can get a battery rebuilt for this, I'm going to use it for possibly for travel. I'm thinking I'll use it with my electric bike and carry it with me and go to different places and use it to work, just to type things and stuff. It should be kind of neat. If I can't get the battery working for this, I also have my Panasonic CFC1 Toughbook, which I reviewed earlier, and I might use that one for the same kind of deal. I just really like Toughbooks. They're a neat thing to collect. Just because they're, even if they're so obsolete, they still have kind of a purpose because they are a rugged laptop. I could see using these for education, for even like middle schoolers and things to use. These are touchscreen laptops. Unfortunately, I do not have the driver installed for that. It works in Linux, however, I can't calibrate it, and it like only moves the cursor in like a certain part of the screen. But it does recognize touches in Ubuntu. Actually, no, it was in what version of Linux? Crunchbang. Crunchbang's what I was using on here, which it's a pretty good distribution. Unfortunately, I believe they ended support for it, or at least ended development. But yeah, pretty neat little machine. Go ahead and see if I can do, yeah, I can do properties on that. See, this Windows XP install was what was pre-installed on my other machine that I bought on eBay a long time ago, so somebody else installed this. Really, I don't even think it had all the drivers then. But yeah, Pentium 3 clocked at 1 gigahertz. Currently running at 996 megahertz. Apparently speed step isn't exactly doing too much. 504 megabytes of RAM, which is probably, well, yeah, that's what it registers as. 256 meg modules. This is running Service Pack 3. Let's take a look in the hardware, device manager, and see what we've got. What's strange is detecting 2 video controllers. It's got an Intel 8280, let's see, 82830M. Never heard of that particular adapter. But it's also showing an additional video controller under here, which I don't know what that is. I'm hoping if I reinstall, that'll take care of some of those weird things like that. But yeah, as you can see, this mouse moves awfully slowly when trying to use the trackpad, and I have the sensitivity all the way up on it. Really doesn't help much. Yep, Intel Pentium 3 mobile, 1 gigahertz. Has some various sound hardware, nothing really too interesting other than that. None of the network adapters are recognized in Windows, so yeah. Well, there's not much else to see here, so thank you guys for watching. If you liked it, give it a big old thumbs up, and let me know what you think down in the comments. I will see you guys later.